Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the series we are building, which is the main stack job portal using MongoDB, Node.js, and Angular. Okay, so if you're just coming right now, you need to look at the first video, because we actually started up and then we created a basic Express server. So we're going to continue from there. So I'm going to create a terminal here. So if you observe, I have created a file called .env and git ignore, and this is how you can do that. .env, you just do a .env. Okay, so you see I have it already. And for git ignore, you're going to .git ignore. Okay, you see I have it already. Okay, so what is .env for? Okay, so this is what we need to store our configurations. Okay, so we store our configuration. As you can see, I'm storing our port number, and then I'm storing MongoDB URL. So you can go to mongodbatlas.com, sign up, is free, then you'll be able to create your MongoDB URL. Okay, so you copy and put it in yours. Okay, if you don't know how to do that, you can comment. I will give you some guideline down there. Alright, so this is .env, and the git ignore, this, whatever you don't want to get deployed to GitHub, you can put it here. So when I'm pushing this project to GitHub, .env is not going to be included. Likewise, node modules. Okay, so it's more professional that way, and then it's more secure. I will not be able to, if I push my database URL to the GitHub, okay, so many people will be using it, and which is not fair enough. Okay, so now let's get back to the server.js. Okay, so you can see that I am hard coding this port number, which is not a good thing to do. It's not the best case. Okay, so what I will do now is I want to make use of the .env file. So how can I access my .env file from the server.js file? So I will be able to do that by using what is called .env. So if you open your terminal, you connect it to internet, you can now do npm install, I for install, .env. Okay, I won't do that. I've done that before. Okay, so if you see my package JSON, you can see .env. So I'll copy it out, and then I'll go to server.js, and then I will configure the .env, and then .env.config, but first of all I needed to require it here. Okay, this is the variable I'm using. Alright, so .env. So if you configure it like this, down below it, you'll be able to access this port. Okay, you'll be able to access it. So now, right now, we will not be hard coding it. Instead, we'll make use of the .env file, and the way we do that is to say process.env dot the name of the variable. Okay, then I will say or this. So if .env file, if we don't have port in .env file for whatever reason, we'll fall back to the port 3000. Okay, so this is more professional, but it's going to refer to this. Okay, so if you like, you will not, you can even be fine, you can be fine with this alone. All right, but I just want to have everything. All right, so let's proceed. Now let's see that our server is still running fine. Okay, still running. So now I'm going to just set up a basic route. Oh, okay, a basic route in here. But I'll create a folder called routes, and also a controllers, and then also models. So in here, now what I want to do firstly is to start with the authentication, meaning registration and login. Okay, so I'm going to have auth route, so you can call it authentication.js. So in order to set up a router, we need to bring in our Express. Remember, I've done that in the first video where we install Express. Okay, so I will require Express. Then I'll set up my router. Then I'll say express.router. So this is how we set up our router. Then we want to export it, so we can use it in some files, in some other files. Okay, so I'm going to say router. So this has been exported. Okay, so what do we want to do now? We want to now go to controller, and then we'll create a file also there. We call it authentication controller. Alright, so here what I want to do is to create a function. Alright, it's a creative function for registration and for login. Alright, but right now I just want to have a dummy registration and login. Okay, it will not do much quite yet. It will not do much right now. Alright, so I will say const sign up can call it sign up controller. So I'm going to be using async function. If you know JavaScript, alright, so this is how I'm going to be handling my promise. Okay, request response. So in the response, I'll say request.status.json. And here I'll have 200 or 201. Please, you can refer to status code, okay, to know more about status code. We have 400 status codes, 200 status codes, 201 status codes. Just go and Google it and read about it. All right. So now I'm going to have a message so that when people call our or make requests to our endpoint, they will have a message. All right. Say success. Let me say that it's successful, and then we're going to should be able to return data. For now, we'll just have it like this. Okay, so and then I will have also login controller. Login controller is sync. Okay, so now since we are using async and await async function, I can do try catch. Here I'll put it in a try, and then if there's any error, I'll catch the error. But of course now there will not be error because we are not doing it actually right now. We are not dealing with database, we are not dealing with anything, we are just having a setup. Okay, so this is how, as we proceed, we're going to be building more on it. So but I just want you guys to understand, that's why I'm taking it gradually. So I'll have request response, and I'll have try catch, have my try block. Okay, now in my try, I'll have try catch. Alright, in the catch, like I told you, there's not going to be any error right now because we are not communicating with database, we are not doing anything yet. Okay, so I'm going to say rest.status.json. Alright, and then say message, and then data. Successfully registered, so that it will look more reasonable. Logged in successfully, or successfully login, whatever you want to say. Okay, so here are my login controller and sign up controller. So what we need to do here is we need to export it Okay, so I'll export more than one. Okay, more than one function, so I will put it like this. This is the way I will export. Alright, so sign up controller and login controller. So this is good. Now I will then move into the route. Okay, so here I'm going to bring in those controllers that I have. All right, I need to bring this over to my route, and the way I will do that is I'm going to have controllers, and I will require controllers and then auth controller. So here I'm going to set up my routes. All right, say router. Oh my goodness, router dot. Now when we are doing sign up and login, we are actually sending data from the front end. In our case, we will be using Postman, okay, to the server, sending data from the client to the server. Okay, so it's actually a post request, but if you are getting data from the server to the client, that will be called get request. Okay, so you can also do well by making your findings or going to browse about HTTP methods. Okay, so you find more about it. All right, so here I will do router.post. So this is a post method. It requires the endpoint you want to set up. So I will set up an endpoint called sign up, and then I will fix in, or I'll connect the controller. Okay, the controller that is here, I'll connect it here. So that's why I brought in these controllers. Okay, that's why I brought in the controller. So I will now pick it, all right, like this. So this is the way I usually organize my code. It will be very, very clean. Even if you have thousands of functions over here, all right, it will not cloud everywhere. Okay, so this is a clean code architecture. So you bring it like this, and you also have router.post, still a post, this time around for sign up or for login. Okay, I have for login, and the appropriate controller for it is going to be our login controller. Okay, so having done this, we have done this, and in the root file, the root, and the server is the root file. Okay, that's the main engine room. Okay, here we need to plant the route as well. Okay, need to plant the route. So the way we do that is that, having set up this app, so we'll use a middleware. So you don't know about middleware, you can comment and I'll see if I'll bring in a tutorial that will discuss a middleware. Okay, so what I will do now, I will say app.use and then I'll mount a route over here. Now you see I mounted a route here, and then I'm mounting another one here, but I will show us how to use both. Excuse me. I'll show us how to organize them. Okay, but what I want to have here is API/auth. Okay, so let me require controller. Let me require my routes, these routes here. Okay, so I will say const auth route require okay routes this. So I have access to this, and then I'll mount it here. Okay, so now if we want to now make call to let's say sign up, what we'll do is that we'll need to say http ://localhost, all right, 3000/API. okay, because of this API/what auth, then we'll now go here and attach it to /sign up. So this is how you can make requests to the sign up endpoint. Okay, so I'll call it out here. This is how it is also. Okay, I'll cut it out, and then I'll show us how we can make the request. Okay, so I'll go to Postman. Now if you don't know about Postman, you can just Google it. Postman, just type Postman. This is the name of its name. You can Google it and then download and install. It's a tool that we use, to make requests to API endpoints. Okay, it mimics our front end. Okay, so we'll be able to make requests and see how our API is working. Okay, so if you download and install Postman, we'll be using what we call collection. Okay, you go ahead and create a collection. Click on this button and then create a collection. I've done that before. So collection will help us to organize our Postman documentation. Okay, so at the end of the day, if you organize it well, you'll be able to give it to front-end developer. Okay, so this is the collection I created, and then you can go ahead, click on this 3-dotted line and create a folder. Add a folder. Let me add another folder for the sake of sake of those that will not know. Okay, so maybe I should call this, I'll call this users. Okay, so you can see right now I have authentication folder and users folder. So in this folder, I will be storing all that pertains to authentication. Registration and login, they are all authentication. Okay, so right now you can now click on this button in order to create a link, a space for you to type in your endpoint. Now remember, I've copied the endpoint I showed you, which is this. So with this, I should be able to make a request to my API. Okay, if everything works fine, it should be able to go from here to here, and then it will call this controller, and what I have in my controller is basically my message and this data. Okay, just for test, just for setup. Alright, so let's go to the Postman, and this shouldn't be a get, this should be post requests. And also, for you to get familiar with a Postman, right now I don't need to send, my API doesn't need any data to work with right now. It's just a test, but so that we can flow along and we'll continue next, I'm going to send in data. So click on the body, go to raw, and then change this to JSON. Okay, so put a curly bracket, and then you put key and pair. Let's say we have email, and then say this rad@gmail.com, and then we have first name, okay, so you get the idea. This is the data we're going to be sending to the server, but right now I told you what we have now doesn't demand for any data. Okay, but if I send it, we should, if everything works fine, we should get this response. Okay, so I'm going to send, and before I send, I want to save it in authentication folder in our Postman documentation. So the way we do that is we click on this button and you save as. Okay, so I'm looking for my folder, first of all my job portal API documentation. So you look for it. Maybe you should type and search. Okay, here it is. So, and then I'll choose authentication, and I will save it. Oh no, let me do that again. Save as. We need to give the name I want to save it as. We can call this sign up. to save it as sign up, and also save it like this. So if you go to the folder, let me save. Okay, so you can see I may have to delete this. Okay, so this is what we want. So you see, that way our API documentation will be well structured. Okay, so let me send this now. Let's see what we'll have. Okay, wow. We had says cannot post API/auth. Let's see what's wrong. So it probably means I'm not hitting it correctly. So let's see. API/auth/ sign up. Come on, man. Why is it telling me I cannot? Cannot post. I don't know what's wrong. API/auth/ let me see one of my work. There's practically nothing wrong with this. But I don't know why. Okay. Let's send again. Well, probably I mistyped this. Okay, so this is the proper response to get. Okay, and also we can try for login as well. No, we don't need this here. Can try for login. I'll just have to edit this to login. Okay, so you see, Wow, there's also another issue here. Unexpected. Oh, okay. Let's go to the controller. Sorry, forgot to put status code here. Okay, here I'll have 200. Okay, so I'll send the request again. So you see we are logged in successfully. Okay, so I hope we are following. Now I don't want to rush, and then the goal is that you understand everything. Okay, the goal is for you to understand everything. Alright, so I'm going to close this other file. So right now what I'll be doing next is to create a database connection, MongoDB database connection. Okay, so I'm going to create a folder and I'll call it config, and inside the config folder I will have database. Okay, so over here I'm going to create a function, and before I create a function I need to bring in Mongoose. And Mongoose is like database, MongoDB database driver, so we need Mongoose in order to work with MongoDB. So I will bring in Mongoose, const Mongoose require now bring in Mongoose. Okay, so I will now create a function. I say db connect, going to make it an async function. Okay, then when I'm done I'm going to export it. db connect. So what do I want to do here? Alright, what I want to do is that I want to create a variable that will hold my connection. So making use of Mongoose now, but it's actually return a promise, so I'm going to await it. This operation return a promise, so I'll call this method Mongoose method, and then it requires MongoDB URL and options. Okay, so I'm going to make use of this MongoDB URL I have in my .env. I'll make use of this. So the way I'll use it now is to say process.env dot this. Okay, so this is the options, but for now I'll leave the options blank. Okay, So now I'll now say console.log MongoDB connected. Okay, so if it's connected, we are going to see that. Alright, so we can make use of this as well to say this. See, con dot connect but let's just make sure we are connected. We'll know what to do with that later on. Okay, so make sure we export this. Alright, so now if we go to the server.js. Okay, just like what we have here. If we go to the server.js, alright, so below here I'm going to first of all bring in the database file. I'll say db connect and require config to pick it from there. Okay, database. So here, since it is a function, for now we don't want to put it in a variable. Okay, this is a function. I haven't required it here. I can now call it here, but we need internet. Let me connect my internet. Okay, because the MongoDB is on a server, it actually needs internet to work with. So I think I have internet now. So let's see if we'll be connected. Sometimes if the network is bad, it will fail. But let's see. I'm going to start the server again. Okay, so in order to just show us, I'm not using a new connection, database configuration, but what we can do is that I can simply make use of this. I think my configuration is, I know this is connecting. It's on my application, my food delivery application. So I believe this should connect. So sometimes if the internet is bad, it will not easily connect. So you see MongoDB connected. So if I revert back to this, let's see if it also connects with this new MongoDB database. Let me kill it and start it again. Alright, cool. So we've been able to create our database function and then connect it to the server. Alright, so you notice I'm doing it here. This config.env.config must be at the top, because in the database file I'm making use of process.env. so this, you see that you don't need to do .env.config over here again, because you must make sure that when you are making use of this database connection, you should do it below. So at that time, your file from the .env should be available. Okay, so whatever you are doing down here, it will get access to the .env file. Okay, so in order not to make this video to be too long, so I'll just stop here and then I'll create the third video in the series. Okay, so just follow what we have. Okay, make sure you are up to this point. If you have any question, drop your question on the chat and the comments, and then I'll answer you. Okay, so don't forget to like and subscribe, because it will boost the channel. Okay, so because I actually want to do more and more video that will help you to become the full stack or the back-end developer, whichever one you want, whichever one you desire. Alright, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.